Live from the Sands Convention Center, Las Vegas, Nevada. Extracting the signal from the noise. It's theCUBE, covering AWS reInvent 2015. Now your host, John Furrier.
Okay, welcome back everyone. We are here live in theCUBE at AWS reInvent for wall-to-wall coverage of Amazon Web Services. The cloud game is changing, it's exploding, they're more enterprise focused. This is theCUBE, our flagship program from SiliconANGLE. We go out to the events and extract the signal from the noise. I'm John Furrier, and my guest this segment is CUBE alum, famous venture capitalist, Jerry Chen, one of the other partners not featured in the New Yorker, Reid Hoffman. I saw the article, your partner, you're one of the other guys.
I'm one of the other
That's
guys.
inside joke, but great success.
Thanks.
Investor in Docker, a lot of other deals you got going on. Great to have you back.
Thanks.
Great to see you.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me. It's always great to be back at theCUBE. It wouldn't feel like reInvent if I wasn't spending some time with you guys, so thank you.
We really appreciate you spending the time. A lot of deals here. You guys are scouring the landscape. What's going on? I see a lot of VCs here. Again, every year, more VCs showed up. You were early on, before you even pulled the trigger on Docker.
Yeah.
You were looking at cloud. I see your pedigree at VMware. You know the cloud business. Where are we, man? Are you surprised? Are you blown away? Are you like pinching yourself like, man, Amazon's tearing it up? The other guys are in the dust? What's the landscape look like?
It's a great question. So I would say, first and foremost, what does it feel like? It feels like we're still early innings of the cloud, but a lot of the early opportunity around cloud services, cloud security, around a bunch of mobile services, that's all been played out, I think. And we're looking at vertical application, vertical solutions, meet vertical clouds. So I think we're looking at what cloud enables, right? My whole wave versus wavelets theme. So if the wave is cloud, what wavelets will occur following Amazon. But Amazon, as a company, and the cloud business in particular, it's amazing, right? $7.3 billion, $8 billion run rate. If this was an independent company, it'd probably be $80 to $120 billion market cap, potentially, at least. It was publicly traded. So you have that feeling of this inevitable march of Amazon building more services, releasing more features, more technology.
They have a storage device, Pure Storage, one of your portfolio companies, not yours, but Greylock, invested in Scott Dietzen, great entrepreneur.
Went IPO public today.
Went IPO today, great news on that front, good liquidity, but still, that's storage.
Yeah.
I mean, Pure's not going to put EMC out of business, but Amazon could put EMC out of business. Their storage business has got to be at least $2 billion.
It's probably the largest storage company started the past 10 years, right? If you think about that. Like
AWS,
right? S3, EBS, now Elastic Files. It's probably the largest storage company started the past few years. It's the largest server company started the past 5 to 10 years,
Largest app developer company started in the last 5 years. Or a database, fastest growing search, we heard that in the keynote today.
Right.
Outpacing Redshift, which is tearing it up.
Right, absolutely.
What does this all mean?
Well, then the question becomes, is cloud a winner take all, or winner take most business? Right, and that I think, if you think about Amazon, and it's not just one company or one product, it's hundreds or dozens of really relevant products. So the way I think as a VC is cloud a winner take all, winner take most business, like operating systems, which Microsoft won in the 90s. Then if you think of data, you think of analytics, you think about storage, you think about security, you think about networking, you think about mobile services. Are each of those winner take most, winner take all markets? If it is, then something like an Amazon that gets a lot of traction, a lot of momentum, then it's going to be hard to compete. But if it isn't, and there's certain areas like databases, or database as service may or may not be a winner take most, then I think there's plenty of opportunities for startups and incumbents to compete.
Yeah, and get those white spaces. This beachhead, basically, will there be beachhead for new opportunities to grow and figure out where to go? Or
seams in between these opportunities, right? It's oftentimes, as a startup, 10, 20, 30 million in revenue is a big deal. And that's, you start early and you grow. Amazon's now the size where if you're not generating maybe $50, $100 million in revenue in a new service, why bother? It's so big now. It's the classic innovator's dilemma. And it's fascinating to watch that in this short time of the past 6, 7, 8 years, it's gone from scrappy startup to large incumbent, and then all the potential weaknesses of being a large incumbent in terms of innovator's dilemma, not innovating fast enough, leaving white space for startups. That's going to be the next theme about Amazon, I think.
One of the things I like about your firm at Greylock, not to sound like I'm kissing up to you, but the firm has got a lot of ex-entrepreneurs. And also have good professional investors. Tier 1 VC, great investments, Cloudera, Pure, went public today. Your partner, Reid Hoffman, was featured in the
Yeah.
New Yorker. John Lilly was the CEO of Mozilla. Those guys are doing some pretty cool things that would stand for this blitzscaling class that they're teaching, which I commented on Facebook by saying, I think that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
It's open source, they're documenting it, they're really giving back and trying to shape this next generation kind of entrepreneur on execution. So you have a good execution staff mindset, entrepreneurial. So I got to ask you the question. This is not necessarily a dig against Reid and John Lilly, because I love the class, I'm following it closely. It's great for consumer companies.
Yeah.
But what is the blitz scaling model for enterprise?
Sure.
So that it's different. You can't say blitz scaling that they're teaching at Stanford actually doesn't apply, I would argue, doesn't apply to the enterprise fully.
Sure.
There might be some pieces here and there, go to market, frictionless, blah, blah, blah. But what is blitz scaling there? It's a little bit harder game, different roadmap. What's your take on
I'd
that?
say, so I think, so Blitz, so what Reid and John are teaching a class, Stanford's online, it's free for everyone to watch and consume. It's, the whole thesis, starting up is easy. Everyone can start a company, credit card on Amazon. Scaling is the hard part.
I would agree with that,
And
100%.
as an entrepreneur yourself,
Yeah.
successful entrepreneur yourself, scaling is the hard part.
It's hard as hell.
And so, what does scaling mean? Scaling changes from 0 to 10 employees, 10 to 100, 100 to 10,000. Every part of that curve, the problems change, and that's both from HR, sales processes, R&D processes, marketing, et cetera. And so some of the things they're teaching are very, very consumer-oriented. Some are very common, like how do you recruit world-class talent at speed? But some areas like go-to-market, sales, distribution, channels, pricing, those areas are very different when it comes to enterprise. And I always say the battle between startups and incumbents is distribution versus technology. And the hard part for a startup is getting that distribution. So you look at Pure Storage, going to war against EMC is how can they grow with better technology and get their products in the hands of customers faster before EMC can buy and try to catch up.
Be faster, basically.
And that's the blitz scaling for the enterprise is, A, how do you grow the product? How do you add more features, more technologies, more product lines? And then it's clearly how do you recruit great talent, but how do you get distribution and go to market? And at Greylock, we think a lot about, as entrepreneurs, not only how the technology is fundamentally better, there's a deep IP, or there's operational IP, but also how to get this in the hands of your customers. And if you're a mobile app or a consumer app, there's social networks to tap into. But if you're an enterprise product, we think about, okay, how is the go-to-market for this product going to happen?
So I got to take it to the next level then, which is I'm a buyer at an enterprise.
Yeah.
The consumption of product and technology is also changing. So you have now kind of a blitz scaling vibe going on there. We say, okay, what Amazon's basically showing is you can actually have a tenth of the cost in these areas for a developer with some distribution in marketplace. IBM's promoting the same thing with Bluemix. Oracle has their thing on marketplace, but you're seeing that kind of vibe. So what does that mean for the buyer?
Yeah.
How are they consuming the products and services with a cloud, public cloud, and hybrid in play?
It's changed. Before, the CIO or the VP of technology was the only buyer, and the CFO wrote the check, right? So all buying was centralized, and you kind of had this procurement office. And now with cloud and SaaS and distribution channels, that last mile has changed. So you have app stores, so I can get things on my phone or my iPad. You have cloud, so developers can go just hit Amazon or Google or Azure and start developing. And you have SaaS consumption where basically from a website or from an app store, I can get HR apps, I get finance apps. And so what's happening now is that buying has been decentralized. So the good news as a startup exec, you now have multiple buyers to choose from. So it's not only do I have to knock on the door of the CIO of a large investment bank or the CIO of a large retail company, there's only one gatekeeper. Now as a startup, I can actually sell to the developer, to the VP of sales, the CFO, to the business analyst, right, to the sales rep in the field, because there's multiple channels to my end user. And so the beauty is, as a startup, it's great. There's no better time to try to build something because you don't have to deal with this kind of a gatekeeper to get to your ultimate user if you're selling CRM software.
So they're going to add you to the blitz scaling roster for a blitz scaling enterprise?
Reid, I, and John have talked about, content going forward. Maybe the next class would do an enterprise version of that, and
They seem pretty happy with that. Chris Ye's and also
Yeah.
involved. He's Stanford, all these Stanford alum guys. So they seem happy about that. So okay. Bottom line, what's going on here? What's your takeaway? What are you looking at? Have you bumped into anything? You doing any deals? What's going on at Amazon? What's on the floor in your mind?
Sure.
What's on your observation space right now?
You know, the thing of what I come to these events for 2 or 3 reasons. One, to talk on the cube. 2, to catch up with alums of Amazon, Microsoft, VMware, all these other tech companies out there. So just reconnecting with individuals, because we are in an internet, Twitter, crowd chat world, but we're definitely also living in a world where face-to-face communication matters. And the third thing is studying the rate of change, right? It's companies that 3 years ago, 4 years ago, the first Amazon weren't here, or were here in a small way, and how big are they now in terms of booth size, traffic, products, and it's such a great way to absorb so many data points and understand the rate of change. Are things growing, and they're slow, and they're going declining? And like I always say, when it comes to investing, or even decision making, I collect the dots before we connect the dots. So I come here to Amazon, to all the shows that you and I meet at, to collect the dots, right? And then I collect the dots, and then I connect the dots, and the forward investment thesis of where things are going.
Yeah, and that's also key. You're in the middle of it, so you've been riding this whitewater rapids for almost 8 years now.
Yeah,
maybe 10, right? I mean,
10 years.
You go back and you look at that and say, okay, what's the biggest change that's happened in your mind? Like if you can look back and say, okay, in the past 10 years, from Jerry Chen doing cloud, early days to now, what is the biggest thing that's changed, and the biggest thing that's also surprised you?
Sure. I think the biggest wave clearly is mobile, cloud mobile. So people say, is mobile something different trend or is one trend? But the past 10 years of my career working in cloud infrastructure is what mobile as a sensor, as a device, as an input has changed. And we talk about this change from moving systems of record, systems of engagement, systems of intelligence, right? And one of our companies, Trifacta, talks a lot about this. It used to be systems of record, who owned the data, who owned the database. Then it became systems of engagement, how you interact with your user, be a web browser, there was the browser wars, right, to the app wars of who owns the app on your phone. So that's the systems of interaction battle. And now, we're kind of seeing the systems of intelligence. How can you make better decisions? How can you make faster decisions?
Machine learning,
Correct.
machines.
Absolutely, so I think that, because mobile definitely plays in the whole system of record, collecting more data, better data. It definitely plays in the whole systems of interaction, right? How you engage with your users, and that's been probably super transformative. And who knows what comes next in terms of systems of intelligence, machine learning, early days there, and have a whole thesis of what's going on in kind of machine learning and data, but more how it shapes applications. So that has been kind of one of the most dramatic changes, because all the things that follow that trend permeates through this room, and the way you build applications for this world of mobile apps, smart data apps, very different. I mean, 10 years ago, it was still mostly Windows Server, Windows, Microsoft SQL Server as a database, Windows Server 2000, Windows Server like 95. That was the canonical stack, right? And people spent a lot of time talking about that. Now, do people really talk about operating systems? Not in the data center. They talk about iOS versus Android. When you say the OS,
they talk Linux, open source is what they talk about.
But did he talk about Red Hat versus something else? No, it's going to be Linux,
generic,
right?
Yeah.
It'll be Linux, and so the OS battles have moved from like Linux versus Windows to like Android versus iOS, and so the way you build your application to enable these new apps has changed. So, macro trend, to answer your final question, was this wave towards mobile and what it means in terms of building applications, the biggest trend in the past 10 years.
And that springs the Internet of Things.
Internet of Things
is mobile.
Is mobile,
it's
right?
the edge of the
network. The internet had things for a long time.
I mean, it's called the edge of the network, the connected device.
This last mile, because that wave has drafted and pulled so many changes in operating systems, virtualization versus containers, databases, from relational databases to big data to Hadoop to key value stores. That has kind of percolated and permeated and passed through every stack, every level of the infrastructure stack.
Jerry Chen, great to have you, like a guest analyst. We have you on, like, also a VC doing great stuff. Congratulations. So we didn't even mention Docker much, but not too much to talk about here. But quick update on Docker. They're making money, you don't care, they're doing great, what's going on?
Definitely care about them making money, and they're definitely doing great. So everyone here should drop by the booth and learn about the enterprise products that
Good
they're
recruiting
working
opportunity, also great management team at Docker, big fan. Jerry Chen, obviously enlightening us with this great insight. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and data with us here on theCUBE, where we're collecting the dots, and hopefully you can connect them. We can do that every time we go to an event. Thanks for watching. It's theCUBE here, live, wall-to-wall coverage, day 2 of 3 days of coverage. I'm John Furrier, you're watching theCUBE. We'll be right back after this short break.